Oh my god, it worked. This, everybody, is the candlenut. It is the seed of a fruit that can be used as a candle, and it actually works. This not only can be used as a candle, but it's also a very popular ingredient in cooking in Southeast Asia and Hawaii. So today, everybody, we are going to do a deep dive on the candlenut. I will take a look at the fruit, take a look at the tree. I'm going to try cooking with this, making my favorite food, laksa, and along the way, we will see just how long this will burn. Okay, I'm gonna put it down now. I've actually spoken about candle nuts one time before, a long time ago, about 10 years ago. I went to a botanical garden in Malaysia, and the guide there showed me the candle nut and gave some really interesting cultural history about it.
Our local people here, we use the seed to cook, to thicken our gravy. In Hawaii, where there was no electrical power, people use these nuts, they used to light on the path at night to see their way home. Yeah? So they used to light it on the path for maybe an hour or so.
The idea of somebody using these as a way to find their way back home, like a pyromaniac Hansel, is very charming to me. He says that these will last maybe an hour or something if you do that, which is impressive if it's true, which I don't think it is. You know, for anyone watching who does a lot of camping or is into like survival sort of things, you may know that you can actually light other nuts on fire. This is a hack if you want to get your campfire going. I actually saw a YouTube video of a guy that got about 8 minutes out of a pecan. So I wanted to just like light it to see how long it would go for, and after a couple of minutes, it just got too smoky. I would wager that you could probably get 10 minutes out of this, 15 minutes, at least as long as a pecan would, but this is something you gotta do outdoors. And New York City does not like when you like light things on fire on the streets of New York. I'll get a ticket. So I'm not doing that, but I will say this will probably last a little bit longer than a pecan, and it is bright. As far as the practicality of using one of these as a candle, it's not very practical. It creates too big of a flame, and because, you know, it can roll, you know, you gotta be really careful with it. What you could do, though, is something that I've seen online. Someone took a bunch of these and put them on a bamboo skewer and used it as like a torch. So you could do that as like a natural tiki torch. I think if you wanted to use this as a way to find your way back home, you'd have to be doing a quick trip. The tree that I saw in Malaysia was fairly young. I didn't realize it at the time, but when these things get older, they get massive. More recently, I visited New Caledonia, and while I was there, I saw some really, really big candlenut trees. We're in New Caledonia right now, and there are candlenuts just like everywhere where we're walking. They're just like littering the floor. They're like all over the place. Do you know why candlenuts are here?
So this is one of the dominant forest trees. So the giant tree right behind us is a candlenut. These big trees are all candlenuts.
That's one big ass tree.
Yeah, they were introduced long, long ago by the original Melanesian people when they colonized the island as one of their early introductions, along with noni and cut nuts.
Yeah.
But it's one of the other mini nuts. They cannot be eaten raw. They have to be prepared.
Yeah, they make you sick.
Yeah, it causes purging, which is not fun.
No, cook them.
So I'm not going to eat these as they are, but they're super heavy.
But people eat them here? Like they cook them and eat them?
I don't know if they still do. At one point they did.
Not just to like thicken stew.
Yeah, originally this is an ingredient.
You know, I wish I could take these with me, because like when I buy these at the supermarket, they're like really expensive. Like a little bag of them is like 10 bucks. So that's pretty interesting. And do you have one with some flesh on it?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, hey. Oop, oh, well, the nut fell out, but the flesh is still intact. So you can see right there, it's dried out, but these just kind of like crumble apart when they're dry, and then the nuts fall, and they're like that. These are bigger than candle nuts I've seen. It's probably because this has a shell to it.
There we go.
Yeah, when you crack it open, inside, there's the candle nut right there. I don't want to eat a ton of this, but I'm going to try a little bit.
That's ballsy.
Tastes like almonds. I'm spitting it out, but it tastes pretty good. I can see accidentally eating a whole bunch of these, thinking they're like macadamia nuts or something.
I've heard they cause violent purging if eaten raw. Jared just tasted a piece. I was nervous to buy this because I'd heard about the violet purging. But because Jared tasted a piece, and I've never eaten candle nuts.
We both should be violently purging.
Yeah, gotta...
Spit it out though, you know, don't swallow it. Almondy?
Yeah, almondy, but very starchy. Much more starchy than an almond. Yeah, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, you're fine. Alright, and now, you ready for a night full of purging? Violently?
Yay!
What I was really curious about with candle nuts is whether or not you could just like take a handful of them and eat them. You know, like I know you can't eat them raw when you buy them in the packet. It says right on it, not to eat it raw. But what if you cook them? Can you just take a handful and eat them if you cook them? Well, kind of. Not really. Not a handful. No, you shouldn't. It's not going to cause violent purging if you roast them, but it can cause diarrhea. So people do not eat these by the handful. Not a good idea. But using them in moderation is okay. If I were to roast these and eat this entire packet, that would not be good. That would be a very interesting evening for me. In Hawaii, they use candle nuts as a condiment. Kind of like how people use crushed peanuts sometimes in like a Thai salad. In Hawaii, they will use candle nuts that are roasted to make something called Inamona. And Inamona, you can get it in a packet also. In this state, it is okay to eat in moderation. It smells very oily. That's how I can describe that. It doesn't smell like, you know, almonds or anything. It smells like oil. It tastes like oil. I guess like the closest thing I could relate it to, as far as a nut goes, would be like a Brazil nut. So it makes sense to me that people do not eat this by the handful. It doesn't taste bad, but it has such an oily flavor to it that it reminds me of like, if you use oil as a seasoning on something, or like oil as a dressing, that is okay, but you don't want to like drink oil, you know? Feels like that. One very popular thing to use this on is poke. I don't have any poke places in my neighborhood, so I'm going to cobble together something vaguely resembling poke. I'm going to put this on it. Bowl, rice, dry tofu, edamame. Yes, my hands are clean. Mango, tomato, little scallion, pickled ginger. This stuff is yuzu dressing. Good stuff. A little blob of that in there. We'll just put a little spoon on top. That is more than enough. Now, I know that this is nowhere near authentic poke, but it does look delicious. I like this. It is not what I was expecting, but I like it. What I was expecting would be like very similar to crushed peanuts on a Thai salad. And it does have like a little bit of that sort of feel to it. It's got that crunch, you know, and it's got a little bit of a nutty, roasty flavor, but it doesn't taste like peanuts. It feels like a little bit like dressing. Every mouthful where I get some of those nuts in it, it is very rich. I think it's really cool that people have found a way to use something that is otherwise not really all that edible. This is a nut that you don't really want to eat out of hand, but this is a great way to utilize that oily flavor of it and provide something really interesting to a food. Yes, everybody, it is what it looks like. A toilet filled with takeout containers. Do you live in New York City like me? And are you available on December 15th? Because I am going to be screening my latest big time video. It's a feature-length episode on nutmeg. It does not take place in New York City. No, I go on a worldwide adventure. I visit like several different countries to document nutmeg. It's the biggest thing I've ever done. I'm proud of it. And if you live here in New York City like me, you can come see it too. So December 15th, I'll put information down below, and hope you can make it. So how it's been described to me is candle nuts are used as a thickening agent for curries and soups. So I figured if I crush up a single candle nut and boil it with water for about 10 minutes, it's going to act like cornstarch would. It'd make it thicker. Here's the problem. It's not thicker. So why do people use it? Why is this the thing? I think it's not actually to add thickness per se. I think it is meant to be more of like an emulsion, because the oil that's in this, like that very, very oily nut, is not separating to the top. The oil particles are mixed throughout. So I think the candle nut, the starchiness of the candle nut, mixed with the oiliness of the candle nut, allows it to be like a natural emulsifier. So the oil of the candle nut is spread throughout the liquid, which means that when you make a soup with it, you are going to get a flavor and mouthfeel that is silkier. So there is a use for candle nuts, but it's not what people are saying it's for. If candle nuts are not a common thing where you're from, take a look online, see if you can find them. They come in a packet like this. If you have an Asian supermarket near you, poke around, you might be able to find it there. A lot of recipes will either exclude the candle nuts entirely, or they will replace it with another kind of nut. I even saw a blog post that said instead of using candle nuts, you can use hazelnuts. It's a bad idea. Other ones say macadamia nuts, and I think macadamia nuts will probably get you closer. But the thing with candle nuts is they're not just oily, they're also kind of starchy. So I think if you really want to get that emulsion or whatever, where you get like a richness throughout the liquid, you gotta spring for the candle nuts. So if you have to, use something else, but this is really the way to go. If I had to pick one thing that I had to eat for the rest of my life, it's gonna be laksa. Laksa is absolutely delicious. If you go to Malaysia, eat laksa every day. You just need to. Now, if you look online for a recipe for laksa, you will be bombarded with hundreds of them. The one that I'm going to follow today, yes, this is not my creation. I am a white guy from New York City. I'm going to be following a recipe today. I'm going to try to follow it fairly closely. And the recipes that I usually look for when I'm making something is it's going to be made by a grandmother or somebody following their grandmother's recipe. And I actually have 2 recipes that I found that have the ingredients that I want to use, and I kind of cobbled them together. So I will link those recipes down below. But I do want to mention something. The problem with these videos and blogs and everything is that they are cooking channels. And I am not a cooking channel. So I could be real with you right now. It's not worth it, okay? So if you do not live in Southeast Asia where it's easy to get these ingredients, just do what I do. Buy a packet. This packet already has all those difficult to find ingredients already blended up into a paste. It skips the most difficult part of making laksa, and also the difficulty in finding and buying everything that goes in it. If you live in Southeast Asia and you want to go through the trouble of doing this, then you can do it. But if you don't, getting all the stuff that's in here is very time consuming, very expensive. Making this paste is very messy, and let's face it, you're probably going to screw it up. So just buy the packet, save yourself the trouble. For the sake of this video, I am going to be making my own laksa paste because I've got the candle nuts and I want to show you how they are used to make laksa paste. However, I would encourage you to not go through these steps and just buy the packet because, seriously, what are you trying to prove? So here are all the ingredients. We're going to make this fast and go clockwise. Okay, we've got 20 dried chilies. I am soaking them in some hot water to fluff them up a little bit. 10 candle nuts. We got 1 tablespoon of whole coriander seeds, 8 stalks of lemongrass. I am just going to use the bottom white portion of it and maybe cut out the outer layer of it because it kind of looks dirty. Just 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil. This is torch ginger. Most recipes do not call for this, but I am following a recipe that does because I have it. You don't use the stalk of it, just the top part. That is if you can find it. These are shallots. There's 12 of them. Garlic, 5 of them. Galangal. I'm using about 3 ounces of galangal. Here's some turmeric, maybe 2-3 inches worth of turmeric. Right here are some fresh finger chilies, red finger chilies. I don't know, they might be the same as this. I'm not too sure, but this is a popular thing in Southeast Asia. If you can find it, a lot of recipes say to use bird's eye chilies instead because they're easier to find. It's gonna be different. That's what we got, and basically what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna cut all this stuff up. I'm going to put it in a blender. I'm gonna blend it up into a paste. So next up, I'm going to cook the paste, which is something that can take 30-40 minutes to do. Basically, what you want is you want this paste to turn a dark red color and for the oil that's inside of it to start to separate out of it. Normally it takes 30-40 minutes, but I am doing a little bit of a hack right now. Usually you blend all those ingredients with water and then you cook it in a whole lot of oil. So what I did instead is I blended it with oil. That way you're not working through any water to evaporate. That's why I didn't add any oil to this pan. It is just the paste with the oil already inside of it. And that is supposed to be faster. So, okay, it's been 20 minutes and this is what we've got. It is not red. The oil is not separating all that much. I think it needs more time and I think it also needs more oil. Alright, so it has been 40 minutes, so I don't think putting oil in the food processor instead of water really saved me all that much time. But it looks pretty good, and I'm going to finish the laksa tomorrow. Good morning, it is the next day and it is time to make some laksa. And I got about 4 of these little containers worth of laksa paste last night. So I put 3 of them in the freezer and this one I kept in the fridge for today. You know, it is a pain to make the laksa paste, but one nice thing about it is that you can make a whole bunch and then use it as you need it. But yeah, still, just buy the paste. Anyway, so this part is another step where like people have their different styles, and we're going to get into all of that. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a broth. So it's going to be this guy, this entire thing, a carton of coconut milk. People have varying amounts of coconut milk that they like to use. I usually find that one of these little cartons is enough, or can if you want a little bit. Can's got a little bit more than that, but that's also fine. Also some broth. So if you eat meat, you can use chicken stock or fish stock or whatever you want to put in there. What I use is this Vegeta, which is a European thing, but it's basically vegetable stock powder, vegetable broth powder. Also, I'm going to use a little bit of palm sugar. Palm sugar comes in these little discs like this. I think about 1/4 of this is probably plenty. Also in my broth is going to be this, curry leaves. This is a matter of discussion, depending on what kind of style of laksa you're making. A lot of people use this, curry leaves. A lot of people use this, laksa leaves. Yeah, it has that name because it's used in laksa, and a lot of people will say that this needs to be in laksa. Problem with this is this, I believe, is related to cilantro or coriander leaves, or if it's not, it tastes a lot like it, and it's called Vietnamese cilantro by a lot of people. This tastes like soap to me, like straight up soap. Like regular cilantro does not taste like soap to me. This stuff does, like strongly. It just feels like I'm putting a spoon of dish soap in my mouth when I eat this stuff. So I am not going to use this, but if you like this sort of thing, this is supposed to be good in it. Going to use some whole cumin, just a good pinch and a half. Next comes the curry leaves. So I'm going to take 2 good sprigs of it, put the leaves in. Okay, once those start to crisp up a little bit and it smells amazing, it is time for the paste. Milk goes in. Medium heat, by the way. You don't want it to be too hot. 4 cups of water. Teaspoon of stock. A quarter of a circle of palm sugar. So while that is heating up, let's move on to the vegetables. There we go. I'm going to be using some okra, some Thai eggplants, and some long beans. And it's once again a matter of taste, what ingredients you put in here. Usually Thai eggplants aren't used, a different kind is used, like the kind of like skinny purple ones. I don't really like those. I like these more. Long beans are a very common thing. Sometimes people will actually cut these up and like saute them or roast them and then put them on top. Me, I'm going to cook them all together into the pot at once because I am lazy. So one tip I've learned is to not let it boil too vigorously. So I'm going to actually like lower this a little bit. And the reason for that, I think, is you don't want the coconut to curdle or separate, so keeping it at a low heat helps that happen. Alright, long beans. So first I'm going to cut off little dark bits on the end. Discard that. There's a couple trying to hide from me. And I'm going to cut them into about 2-inch pieces, like so. Beans go in. Okra, by the way, also is used for thickening, so this should help aid the silkiness of the laksa. Okay, for Thai eggplants, cut off the tops, quarter them like so. Make sure that you don't have any of this stuff on it. Two other things to use, noodles and tofu puffs. These noodles, what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to take some of them, the amount that I want to use, and I'm going to put boiling water over them just so they can cook through a little bit. The tofu puffs, this can go into the pot. So I'm going to take, let's do a whole packet of these. I like to take them and cut them in half. That helps them absorb the broth. Puffs. Also, while I'm here, let me give it a little taste. Tastes good, but I'm going to put in another bit of broth, another teaspoon. Alright, so it's been about 15 minutes, and I think we're good to go. This looks really, really good. It smells really good. And, since this is a video about candle nuts, take a moment just to appreciate how luxurious this broth is. You can see that it's glistening. It's not just oil separating to the top. It's like all throughout. It has such like a richness to it. I'm trying to come up with other words. Silkiness, luxuriousness, richness. Look at that. And that's a combination of many things, we've got the okra in there, which is thickening it a little bit. We've got a lot of oil in here. We've got the coconut milk, but also those candle nuts. And I think those candle nuts do add to that kind of viscosity or silkiness that is inside this soup. And I'm going to top it off with some fresh tomato and some bean sprouts. So it's done. Smells really good, looks really good. I think this is going to taste really good. Doesn't sound good though. You may notice there is a tss in the background. That is the radiator in my building. It's getting cold outside. So I'm not super happy about that noise. You're probably not happy about it. However, my cat is really happy that the radiator is on. So think about her, guys. So let's give it a shot. First, let me just try a bit of the broth. That's what we're here for. The flavor of this is very, very nice. I don't know if it's better than this, but it's close. It's definitely close. I feel like this is more concentrated, so I don't use much of this when I make laksa soup, but in this case, I think I might actually put more of the paste in next time I make it with the same amount of water and coconut. However, what this has, and this doesn't, is this incredible mouthfeel. When I know I keep saying the word silky, but that's what it is. It is silky. It's not oily. It is nice and rich and creamy and just like feels real good in your mouth when you're eating it. Usually I do this. I haven't made my own laksa paste in a long time, but I'm gonna take a bet here that this actually doesn't have candle nuts in it, because when I make it with this, it definitely is creamy because of the coconut milk in it, but it's not like that. It is not like that. And cornstarch. All right, you know what? The candle nuts are missed in this. So this is really good. The flavor of this is really, really good, but the mouthfeel of the one that I made is better. And that I owe to the candle nuts. And if you'll excuse me, I gotta try some of the rest of this. I just had the broth. I wanted to see what the rest tastes like. Oh yeah, that is good stuff. That is really, really good stuff. So, you know what? Candle nuts are really interesting. The tree is really interesting. How it's used in Hawaii is really interesting. How it is used to add this extra layer of silkiness to soups and curries is really interesting. And you can light them on fire. Candle nuts are definitely one of a kind. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, everybody. I will see you all next time. I would like to give a big shout out to Smarter Every Day, Bill T. and Joseph McCorkle. They are mega patrons over on patreon.com. To everyone watching who is interested in learning more about how you can support the channel and also get some really cool rewards in return, like early access to videos, exclusive videos, there's over 100 of those. There's even a level where I will send you things in the mail. You gotta check it out, so I will put some information in the description below.